dealing with it.
This is very much a warning that I have to be extremely careful not to take the easy way out, not to take a cheap victory.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Seidr Soul Sailing. My name is Victoria Steinsay.
I'm Darwin Holmstrom.
And today we're doing a special video for Darwin because it's his solar return, also known as his birthday. So we're doing a year at a glance reading for him to see what the future has to hold. So I'm going to shuffle the cards and then we're going to do our spread.
We normally don't, we never record client readings. That's always private. We do video readings over Zoom and media like that. Client readings are private.
Well, you're going to split them
I'll
yourself,
split them
actually.
myself.
Yeah.
We usually split them together,
Yeah.
but this is my solar return.
Yeah. So that's his intention, and then we gather them. I'll gather them for you.
Yeah. We'd never record a client's reading, but this one we're just going to take a wild chance and see what kind of horror or brilliance I have ahead of me for this year and share it with you.
It's very exciting.
My cards never talk about horror. They really don't.
Signifier. Oh, generosity. Okay,
Some
that's
days.
good. Someday, sometimes. Oh, it's the overall situation. Strength. Oh, the star is the gateway. Good stuff so far. The root card, Ace
Without
of
a
Wands.
doubt.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And the Four of Wands, that's the present moment. So that's right now. You've gotten this a lot. So
Yeah.
you're doing something right.
I have the right people in my life.
King of Swords, that's the personal
future.
future. To move this guy.
Yeah, you'll need it there.
Okay, thank you.
I know where they're going.
Future! Reading, okay.
The little brown man.
The little brown man, yeah. Oh, that's the fair position. Seven of Swords. Okay, that makes sense. And then
Ooh, astrological
energies. Three of Cups.
Goes
that's
good
nice.
with the Four of Wands.
Yes, it does.
They pair well together.
They really do. And then you got the King of Wands in the Desire.
Working on it.
Yeah, one more King of Swords. But no, it's a combo. Ooh,
Oh, those are
future.
two of my scariest cards. So
Yeah.
they're in my fear. Oh no, that's my future.
No.
Oh, that's the final outcome.
Oh, we got the Moon as a modifier for the Seven of Swords.
Try not to be afraid of that, maybe.
You know? And then we got the Nine of Cups again. A lot of good astrological energies coming in. And then you got the Queen of Swords that modifies the King of Wands.
I think she might be dealing these cards.
Maybe. And the Hermit is modifying the final outcome. Interesting. Okay.
One thing I remember about our readings is that a big part of Seidr Soul Sailing, the tarot readings we do on Seidr Soul Sailing, is to emphasize the role of free will in determining your timelines. Because nothing is set in stone. Just because you can be warned of something happening doesn't mean it has to happen. You have your own free will. You have sovereignty over your own life, and you can make the decisions that lead to the bad or the good outcomes. It's always up to you.
Yeah, what I think is very important with tarot is not to fall into the whole determinism mode and kind of just give your power away to whatever the message the cards are conveying. Because what I notice, we do monthly readings for ourselves each new moon, and it's as if the more you're conscious of these energies and how they move through, both your physical life and your emotional life, the ethers, the easier it is to deal with it, and it's always less than I expected. Because some of the messages in the card can seem very rough, but it's the more you're kind of centered and in tune with how you're feeling and how you're moving through things and conscious of your own patterns, the easier it is to move through those energies and to kind of use the modifying cards to help you do that. With that said, let's take a look at your reading. Okay, so you got the Six of Pentacles as your signifier. That's good. I mean, this is like a fair way of giving and receiving, and speaks of generosity. It speaks of feeling enough abundance
To give back.
to give back. Yeah, but it's also balanced. It's not this people pleasing, needing to just give everything away. It's in a balanced way and coming from a place where it's really aligned.
It's helping people without being codependent.
Yeah, I think you feel, that's good. It makes sense. You're very generous. The overall situation is strength. Darwin gets this a lot. And it's, it's the alchemy card. It's like learning to deal with your own demons a bit and kind of working with all the different aspects of yourself and kind of turning that into, I wouldn't say fun process, but a less seamless process where you're not fighting the beast, you're kind of like petting it. And that's going to be for this year. So it means more shadow work, but it's also ultimately something, I think that's kind of inevitable.
I think shadow work's real important for dealing with that.
Definitely. We'll get back to the future situations. And it's all, there's the gateway card. It's the star. And I mean, it kind of assess itself. It's kind of stepping into, it's a stepping into your power card and also balancing, the spiritual realm with the earthly realm. Bringing the energy from, call it what you want, from spirit, and connecting those dots and bringing it back into how you're moving through life. Yeah, I think that's...
We don't even really need to talk about that one too much, do we?
This one.
The root.
Root card. So the root card kind of represents like what this timeline is built out of, and this is talking about it could be a new passionate project or a partnership, maybe both. Yeah, let's leave it at that. I think it makes sense.
It's a fun card.
It's a fun card. And and you got the present moment, which I mean is also a wand card. This is a happy celebratory card of union coming together, like happy family card. So, and I think that's connected with
This is starting the day in a passionate, exciting way, and this is continuing to have just a beautiful day with your family, your partners, your loved ones. So
you have a good year ahead of you.
Yeah.
And the astrological energies. It's also, speaking of that, it's another celebratory card, Three of Cups. It's a bit more of like a party than this is, I think. Like they're both kind of like speaking of celebrations and events, but this is more emotional. It's the cups. It's kind of like spiritual fulfillment and
Jupiter's
joy.
moving through my 7th house right now, and it's going retrograde in my 7th house. It's going to spend almost a little over a year in my 7th house, and so far it's been really good. It's not all good. Saturn. When Saturn's
involved, it's never, and when he's a part of your party.
Yeah, so it's not all bacchanalian dancing around with wine, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, we do drink a lot of wine.
We don't drink a lot.
No,
we just drink a little bit with dinner, but often.
Often. It's modified by the Nine of Cups, and it's kind of a very straightforward, boring message to just enjoy the positive energies that are coming in, I guess. It's kind of, it's almost so positive there's not much to say about it.
Fears and desires.
That's much more exciting. So in the fear position, you got the Seven of Swords, and that's kind of sneaky, getting away with something, and that could either mean like you're afraid that you're leaving some kind of loose ends, and that you're not thorough enough with something that you need to get together.
Right now, my biggest concern in that area is getting an air conditioning unit to put in our boat, because we're in Guatemala and it's freaking hot here.
It's way too hot. So
my partner is from Norway, and it's not quite so hot there.
It's colder.
So I've broken down. I'm shopping for an air conditioning unit, and I need to get that by Monday.
So that's the symbolic part, but I think in general this card can be, whatever loose ends. Like when you're starting a new chapter, it's kind of like you're always bringing parts of old habits, old ways of being, old ways of doing things with you. So I think it's a fear of kind of bringing things with you that perhaps you shouldn't, and leaving, some loose ends behind.
They pop up every day.
They do. And it's modified by the moon, which again is speaking of shadow work, of going into the subconscious and like really finding the loose ends, finding the patterns. You're trying to like get away with not dealing with, and I'm not talking just to you, but like in general, it's like speaking to, okay, what makes you feel like you need to bring these things with you, and where are they coming from? So really, speaking to.
I had a couple pop up over breakfast today, having phone conversations with family members.
There you go. So I think Yeah, and it can be about that too. It's, you know, when you start living a different life than what you used to, I think there's like always like in the back of your mind of like what you left behind and have to do with responsibilities and so forth. So that makes sense. In the desire position, you got the King of Wands. We just got that in our collective reading too, and that's the kind of energy the people that want to create a lockdown for us is fearing. I think it's speaking to really stepping into that power, like the passionate king that's living by his heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a king who rules with compassion and not just cold severity.
Which is your personal future.
But how does the we got a Queen of Swords and a King of Swords on either side of this one.
The Queen of Swords is modifying the King of Wands, which I think means that he needs. There will be a woman in his life this year that will be very direct and say things as they are, so that he can step into this energy of the King of Wands.
I'm going to say it's possibly a Scandinavian ice goddess.
Maybe. Who knows? We'll see.
Won't mention any names.
No. Well, it's good though, and it makes sense. We often see the king and queen cards kind of modifying each other, and I think that really speaks to the men, like the merging of the feminine and the masculine and how they need each other too.
That's the goal of alchemy. The philosopher's stone, the final outcome of alchemy is to bring your divine masculine and your divine feminine energy into balance. So you're not like a cartoon penis if you're all masculine energy, or you're a compassionate, codependent doormat if you're too much onto the feminine energy. You have to balance those two. So you have your compassion and you have your action. You have your thrusting out energy and your ability to bring within you, and that's the Queen and the King.
Yeah.
That's where they work together, where they pair well.
Yeah, definitely. I think also, you know, the face cards can both be, and I think oftentimes they're both. If you see it in the, you know, the ethereal way, because it's speaking of the external feminine energy modifying the King of Wands, but it's also like your internal feminine energy. So both.
The King of Swords come in? Am I going to want to be the King of Wands but end up being the King of Swords?
I think this is your personal future, so I think this is speaking to you still having a lot of this energy, and you'll be, I don't think it's necessarily speaking to the fact that you will be behaving more like the King of Swords than the King of Wands, but you'll be more aware of when you're being the King of Swords, and when that happens, you will wish you were more like the King of Wands. So it's kind of like every time this comes up, you'll feel it, and then you'll be like, oh, I want to be this guy, you know?
It's happened a couple times today already.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. In the future, we got the Four of Pentacles, which I think it has to do, well, it can be different things. Oftentimes it has to do with the material world and hoarding things, holding on to things. But I think in this case it might have to do about like holding on to old patterns. Old traumas, yeah, old ways of being. I think it's connected to the fear card, which is the loose ends, the Seven of Swords. So I think this is just kind of speaking to, because this card comes up a lot, that's where you should put your focus. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing when the same cards keep on having messages for you. I think it just means that you have worked through a lot of the energies that you need to work through, and what you should be focusing on is just being very clear to you. And it takes time. It's not, you know, sometimes we do a spread for a month, and then it's like we feel like we just work through that energy within the first week of the month, and we're like, oh, okay, that was easy. Other times there's more like persistent energies that are much more, they're more deeply rooted in the subconscious, and it's kind of not defining who you are, but it's kind of, it's a huge part of your ego and your coping mechanisms, and then they'll keep on coming out just to make you aware of them. And you probably already are, but it's just like insisting like, yeah, this will be a thing, this is something you're working through.
I do think the next year, we did our last Seidr reading was about the fate of the US dollar.
Yeah.
Although we'll have one out probably before this one, so by the time you see this, it'll be our second to the last Seidr reading.
Anyways, I was thinking about that too, but you can speak about that a bit.
I think we're going through a time where we are going to have to conserve our resources for a period, because resources are going to change. We're looking at I truly believe we're looking at an economic change that it's not just a systemic change, but it's moving into a post-system, something akin to, something that humankind hasn't seen for maybe 4,000 to 6,000 years. So I think we're going through a period where we are going to have to, over the next year, maybe a couple of years, we're going to have to kind of keep close tabs on how we use our resources.
Yeah, I think the age of extreme consumerism is coming to an end, whether we like it or not, and that ultimately that is going to be a good thing for our collective psyche.
Our world too.
Yeah, our world.
We live in a sailboat. We sail, across the ocean and stuff. You wouldn't believe the garbage, the plastic we see out floating in the in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I could be 200 miles from shore, the nearest land, and see Coke bottles, plastic Coca-Cola bottles, just floating around out in the ocean. And there's good side to this end of consumerism, but it's going to be difficult, and we're going to have to make some changes.
You got your final outcome, some kind of falling out with someone where you won, but you might have left the battlefield too early, and there might be some bad blood between you. And that can be, who knows what that will be. I think that will be I think you'll know when this comes. And you might want to avoid leaving those loose ends, because these cards, they oftentimes appear together, and they very much speak to each other, because it's kind of this energy of like you're doing something that might in your heart is not the best way of dealing with it.
This is very much a warning that I have to be extremely careful not to take the easy way out, not to take a cheap victory.
Yeah. And it's modified by the Hermit, and that's, again, like, you got 3 cards. Would you take the Strength card up? Would you pick it up?
No, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, all these cards kind of speak to, going within yourself and really evaluating things.
In alchemy, this card is really internal alchemy.
Yeah.
This is the alchemy card. And what you're shooting, the goal of alchemy is ultimately to find unity consciousness. Yeah, there's different ways of describing it. It's what people call Christ consciousness. We need to find this balance, like we were talking about the king and the queen. We just need to bring all this together. And I'm not sure what this final outcome in the cheap victory card means, but
we can reevaluate in a year and see how accurate the reading was.
A lot of times it can be a bullet that you dodged by being aware of it and not making the mistake.
Definitely. You see when it comes up, and because you saw it in a reading, you're like, oh, that's this situation, and I can make it better.
Yeah. And this card has been very important in my life, the Hermit. A few years ago, I was in Thailand, and I got a traditional Thai tattoo in a Buddhist temple from a monk. And it was the Lursi, that's the Buddhist hermit. And it was a traveling wise man who lived alone, and he went around teaching children. The Buddha's first teacher was a Lursi from Thailand. So I spent a couple of years mostly by myself out on my boat, on our boat now, living in much of it in the mangroves of Florida Keys and different places, just isolated places. And I did a lot of shadow work in that time, and
you might have to revisit that.
I think more.
But also some of the lessons we learn are kind of, there's always new layers. I think it's speaking to that, and maybe some loose ends that has to do with the past that you will revisit now that you have like a wider perspective. People from the past coming back into your life somehow, and some kind of conflict or disagreement, and just asking you to be mindful about how you proceed in those situations, I think.
That's good advice.
You're welcome. I don't even charge.
Well, thank you.
But overall, this is a good reading. I think you got a good year ahead of you. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
No, it was good reading.
Is it clear? Yeah. Good.
I have an excellent partner in this tarot reading gig.
Well, thank you. We see a lot together. I think whatever I'm seeing, Darwin sees the other side of, and vice versa. So
this was our first reading where we really didn't. Usually we lay out the cards and look it over so that we're not
babbling.
Well, one of us especially. I won't mention any names, so that we're focused. So that, well, let's just be honest, so that I'm focused. But this was the first time we just did a real reading like we would for a client.
And we usually, you know, we chat a bit with the client depending on how much they want to share, and yeah, it becomes a conversation where we're kind of the medium, so are the cards, and the client is kind of having a conversation with the cards through us in a way. So it's been very helpful for a lot of people. So if you're interested in one, just contact us, and we'll see what we can do.
The information for contact, I guess, is below, or it's on our website, which is also below.
Yeah.
Which Victoria did a beautiful job putting together.
I did my best. And we hope you enjoyed this very personal reading. And now we will pack out of our yellow little house and
move back
down.
on our boat. That's what we're doing. My birthday is moving onto a boat that's still a construction site.
I think that's all for today. We hope you enjoyed this reading, and we hope to see you in our next video.